tired babysitting.
Heather, let us know when we're on.
It's starting.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity's live stream this morning. We want to let you know that you can really support Unity by, if you're on live stream through our website, you can actually share it to your page on Facebook, and that way your friends can tune in and be a part of this incredible center that survives by your attendance and by your tithes to this center. And so, you know, the more people that can really get the feeling of this wonderful place, we invite you to invite your friends. But we're going to start by chanting, and they say to sing is to pray twice, and we're really just going to chant all of these words into the world and seeing a massive healing surrounding our planet so that we may get back together into our communities and back to our restaurants and to all of the things that function because we support it. And so we really see that this moves quickly, this pandemic, out of our lives, and we can get back to enjoying the normalcy of everything. So we're just going to start by chanting, and then Jack will come on and share a message with you. Norman and I will be the call, and Larry and Louie will be the response.
Kindness of the heart. home to you.
Coming 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 home to you.
I'm going to start with a couple of announcements. Just want to let you know that we are going to be having Coffee with the Ministers on Tuesday and Friday at noon. And you can join us on Zoom. So we invite you to be with us on Tuesday and Friday at noon. And fellowship will take place after the service, the second service, at 12 noon. And you can tune in to that and join us on Zoom as well. Please remember that the many expenses required for this church center operation are remaining the same, even though we don't have physical people in the sanctuary or at our services or classes, and there's no physical offering being taken. So we just ask you to find the donate button on your screen, and following the service, make a reasonable donation so we can continue to share the divine truth of the presence of God. So we appreciate that, and I thank you very much. I'd also like to tell you that we are using a lot of high-tech equipment now, so it's not only possible for you to see me on your screen, but I can see you. And I have to say, some of you will have to get out of your pajamas and get into your clothes. This is still a Sunday service. I mean, the men should be wearing a jacket and tie, and the women a dress, and put your makeup on and all of that, because, you know, I can see you. I can see into your living room. And I want to talk today a little bit about the coronavirus and its response that we're getting. For sure, the coronavirus has caused a lot of panic and anxiety among the people. And it seems to be justified because the coronavirus does make people sick and it does kill some people. However, is the panic and the anxiety that is expressed in society really justified? There are some scientists who are saying, they're in the minority, of course, but they are saying that this pandemic is about as catastrophic as the ordinary flu that comes around annually. Now, certainly there are greater problems that come with this coronavirus, especially at this time, because it is affecting the economy of so many people and so many businesses. So the concerns are justified at this particular time, but we shouldn't be overly concerned. I want to talk about moving in consciousness as we deal with these challenges that come before us. We are going to experience some great difficulties in the ensuing days to come. But there's one particular fear that many people have that we can dispel right now. Yes, there are people hoarding toilet paper. The supermarket's shelves are empty and none can be had. Let us appeal to some common sense. Anybody with a hair blow dryer needn't be concerned about running out of toilet paper. And there are other things that we can use common sense about. And I'll get into some of those, but basically, more importantly, I will be speaking to you about consciousness and how to deal with the limited ideas that cause us to be concerned and to have anxiety and depression. The thing that you will have to do, which is what we are in the process of practicing in unity all the time, we have to withdraw our attention from the talking heads on television. You know, the authority figures outside of us that are spewing this whole idea of doom and gloom. And we have to return to the Word within ourselves. Now, this idea of returning to the Word within ourselves is best expressed in this idea that we've all heard. God so loves the world that he did not send a committee, nor did he send, the CNBC News or Fox News or anything like that. But we are sent with the divine word within us, sometimes called the Christ in you, or sometimes called the still small voice, or sometimes you've heard it stated as the Buddha nature, or the Tao awareness. It doesn't matter what particular labels we give it. There exists within every human being, at the core of that soul consciousness, there exists this divine word. And it has been there for human beings since the beginning of time. So you can understand that even in the Old Testament, you have reference to this divine word. The Old Testament, which was written long before the birth of Jesus. Let me share this with you from the book of Deuteronomy, from the Old Testament. Can we have this PowerPoint up, please? You can read this in Deuteronomy 30, verses 11 to 14. For this commandment, which I command you this day, is not too hard for you, neither is it far off. It is not in heaven that you should say, who will go up for us to heaven and bring it to us, that we may hear it and do it. Neither is it beyond the sea, that you should say, who will go over the sea for us and bring it to us, that we may hear it and do it. But the word is very near you. It is in your mouth and in your heart, so that you can do it. The word is very near you, for it is in your mouth and in your heart, that you can hear it and do it. And as you know, if you've been involved in the spiritual practice we advocate in Unity, you know that the word carries its own divine morality with it. That morality that calls us to good conscience, truth, integrity, and unconditional compassion for everything that lives. If we are living those principles, we will never have to fear anything, physically, mentally, or economically. If we are totally one with that guiding divine principle of life, then we shall never have to fear all the conditions and circumstances that occur in the world outside of us. So now, I'm going to share with you a concept that is a truth and is a reality, but because we haven't lived in understanding it or been educated in it, it sounds rather strange and it sounds really difficult to grasp. But please just listen and take this in. Each of us does not arise separate from the circumstances around us. You can say it this way: the circumstances around us do not arise separate and apart from us. We are one with those circumstances in consciousness. And so we may have this illusionary idea of being separate from circumstances which we were born into and raised and conditioned and educated to believe that I'm a separate body mind in a world of separate phenomena. But that isn't true, not from the higher awareness, not from the awareness of the divine consciousness which we seek to embrace and live from. So, it is incumbent upon us to take to task our own thinking that holds us in the illusionary idea of separation, and quite often brings us a fear that these conditions and circumstances are a threat to our physical well-being. Once we practice this internal awareness, we allow this truth of the presence divine to rise within our own consciousness, then we will begin to see life in a completely different way. At that point, we will begin to openly, freely, and joyfully practice the truth, practice good conscience, and practice the presence, and practice unconditional compassion for myself and for every other being on the planet Earth. And really, that compassion should include every living thing and everything that exists on this beautiful planet on which we have our lives. My purpose for this talk was to try to help people, release some of the concerns and anxiety that they might be feeling in reference to this coronavirus pandemic. But what I'm talking about actually will help people release any concerns and fears that they may be harboring or coming into in their daily life. But this is going to require some spiritual practice, some spiritual meditation, some spiritual affirmation and prayer. That's what brings us into the new divine consciousness of mastery over life. So, as I was saying, circumstances do not arise separate and apart from us. They arise with us. So as you look upon conditions and circumstances around you, feel yourself being one with those circumstances. And consider this with me. This is from the Course in Miracles text, the old text, page 415. Projection makes perception. The world you see is what you gave it, nothing more than that. But though it is no more than that, it is not less. Therefore, to you it is important. It is the witness to your state of mind, the outside picture of an inward condition. As a person thinketh, so does he or she perceive. Therefore, seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world. I'll share that with you again. Course in Miracles text, page 415. Projection makes perception. The world you see is what you gave it, nothing more than that. But though it is no more than that, it is not less. Therefore, to you it is important. It is the witness to your state of mind. It is the outside picture of an inward condition. As a person thinketh, so does he or she perceive. Therefore, seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world. Thus, we are talking about this path into the awareness of mastery, the awareness of true peace of mind and understanding. Modern-day Master Eckhart Tolle advises us to withdraw, learn, if you will, learn to withdraw your attention from the incessant thinking of the mind. With its past and all the limitations that we bring out of the past and the guilt and the concerns of that and all of the unnecessary worries for the future. Now, Eckhart Tolle advises us to withdraw our attention from all of that speculation and learn to bring it into the present moment. Learn to become one with and flow with conditions and circumstances just as they are appearing to you, for they have risen with you and are moving with you. And if you hold limited ideas, if you hold fear, concern, and resistance as regards to what is taking place outside of you, you hold yourself in a state of anxiety, stress, and ultimately dis-ease. So on this journey of spiritual awakening, what we are doing is we are taking to task our own thinking. We are learning to pause when we are having negative thoughts, negative emotions. We are learning to pause and wait and return our awareness to just what is in the here and now present moment. And by doing that, we are entering the divine consciousness that is referred to often as the Word, or allowing this divine word or awareness to come forth into our consciousness. And when it does that, it brings insight, it brings healing, it brings a way for us to be appropriate in dealing with circumstances that are here and now. We can watch ourselves in a state of true peace while we go through many of the challenges that seem to come to us from outer directed circumstances. So we needn't be overly concerned. This does take some practice to bring ourselves into the presence of the divine vision or awareness. It takes learning to pause when we have some negative feelings or thoughts arising. When we recognize that, we just pause and take a look at what's taking place in our own mind. And we know that we can return to peace by returning to the present moment and asking ourselves, what would bring peace to this moment? What is it about this moment that I am here to see and recognize and take care of? So we are returning to this present moment and not labeling it as evil or fearful or threatening. We return just in this consciousness to this present moment. And it is in doing this that we are able to really access the truth that has been so difficult for people to understand, the truth that Jesus said, resist not evil, and which Eckhart Tolle said, and let's put it this way, let's put this up on the screen. This is Eckhart Tolle speaking about conditions and circumstances outside of us. This is from his book, Stillness Speaks. When you say yes to the isness of life, when you accept this moment as it is, you can feel a sense of spaciousness within you that is deeply peaceful The yes to what is reveals a dimension of depth within you that is dependent neither on external conditions nor on the internal conditions of constantly fluctuating thoughts and emotions. Let's take that again. This is modern-day Master Eckhart Tolle, and you could refer to this as like an update on the gospel of Jesus Christ. When you say yes to the stress of life, when you accept this moment as it is, you can feel a sense of spaciousness within you that is deeply peaceful. The yes to what is reveals a dimension of depth within you that is dependent neither on external conditions nor on the internal conditions of constantly fluctuating thoughts and emotions. This depth of awareness is what is referred to in the book of Deuteronomy and in the New Testament as the Word. And in the first chapter of John, the Word of God. We are allowing the Word of God now to come forth and order, heal, and bring insight and love into our lives. In the process of doing that, we so advise everyone to take some time every day to meditate. You don't have to start off with a long meditation. Just start off with a few minutes, perhaps 5 or 10 minutes in the morning. Stop and be still and allow the world and the thinking of the world to relax and rest. And so we're going to do that now. We're going to have a meditation with you right now. Just become aware and rest and relax and take a couple of deep breaths and bring yourself into the present moment, just where you are, doing what you're doing right there. Just come into the present moment. If you don't have a particular meditation technique or a particular breathing exercise that you do for meditation, you can use this mantra. Just bring your mind into this mantra. God is love. Love is life. I am God's life. I am. God is love. Love is life. I am God's life. I am. Breathe in the I, breathe out the am. Rhythmically, taking in the full mantra. I am. I am. And now we'll begin with our Tibetan bowls. as we go forth from this meditation to those places we occupy in time and space. Let us go forth with a greater determination to be aware of our thinking. And when it is not in harmony and we are not at peace, check in, take a holy pause, and know that you are operating from a fear-induced concern having to do with separation. And you can pause and tune in and rest and know what is appropriate in any given moment by bringing your attention to the here and now conditions and circumstances, dropping the concerns of the past and the fear of the future. Just come into the present moment and share it in the awareness of the divine. That's what our spiritual practice is all about. And certainly, take some time to meditate quietly every day, especially in the morning before you enter the day. I'll remind you now that every Tuesday and Friday, Unity is going to have a coffee session for anybody that wants to tune in at noontime and share with us at this session. You'll be able to tune in on Zoom. And again, I have to remind you that the operations here of this church center continue anyway, and the cost of operating this center and everything to do with the expenses to do this are the same, even though we don't have anybody physically attending the service. That's why we have to faithfully turn to you who are tuning in and ask you to find the donate button on your screen and take a moment to donate to Unity of Boulder. It is so appreciated, and by doing that you will further our ministry to everyone in the world. So we thank you for that. And following the second service at 12 noon, we'll be doing coffee and bagels in our True Fellowship Hall. You can tune into that on Zoom as well. And surely, if you're up and ready and moving into spiritual consciousness, you'll want to remain in touch with this station now on your screen, because at 11 o'clock, we are going to have another service, a beautiful truth service from someone who's on the spiritual path with an entire family. Our own Reverend Cinticia will be sharing with you how to operate and do the spiritual practices while raising a family. She will be on at 11 o'clock. And if you're so inclined, on any Saturday at 5 p.m., you can tune in to Reverend Shad Groveland. He has a Unity service taking place 5 p.m. every Saturday afternoon. So now we will conclude with another vocal, and then following that, a very small, short video. Thank you for tuning in.
And I just wanted to add to that there's a global prayer happening in just 3 minutes at 10 o'clock our time. It's 12 o'clock Eastern for 2 minutes. It's just everybody visualizing around the world a miracle happening to eradicate this out of just sight. Let's just see it leaving, and we're all going to go to consciousness. So when you're watching that video, that'll be the time that it's going to be taking place.
Okay.